This evening, let's unlock emotional healing and then enjoy a group meditation. Was it back in the late 80s or early 90s that REM released Everybody Hurts? And they're right. There is a very dangerous myth that if we are truly spiritual, we'll never feel any emotional pain whatsoever, and everything will only be kittens, puppies, rainbows, and daffodils. But that is as dangerous as it is inaccurate. Sturgeon's law teaches that 90% of everything is crap, including meditation teachers. And some will stomp about and insist that if you are feeling anything other than peace, it's because you believe in a self. Malarkey! The Buddha never taught that bullshit. Listen, the Buddha taught the idea of not self simply as a metaphor to help us let go, as if that which we're clinging to was not us. It's predicated upon our exhalation, which means during our inhalation, we will feel like things are part of us. And doing so is neither good nor bad, it simply is. It's how we are wired. If you are in pain, the last thing you need is some self-righteous fiend scolding you for feeling bad. And if that's what you want, you'll come to the wrong place, because everybody knows what it's like to cry. There's not a single emotion on the human spectrum that each of us has not experienced many times over. There is a two-step phase for transcending and our pain, for healing our pain in the Dzogchen perspective. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we access our sympathetic nervous system, which is wired not at all for concentration. For concentration makes us rigid and controlling and cranky and takes whatever we're feeling and makes it so much worse. So no, we did not evolve to concentrate on our in-breath, but we did evolve to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. The next time someone surprises you, watch yourself. You'll take a sharp inhalation, you'll shift your head to access your peripheral vision, and everything will go into a heightened sensory response. That's not because you're a coward. That's because you are the inheritor of the genes of those who were suited to survival way back on the plains of the Serengeti. Where responding to a random noise could mean the difference between living to see the next evening or not. Back in junior high, I tried really hard not to have emotions. No such luck. I was the kid who cried in class. I began crying in class, I think, in 4th grade. Like many neurodivergent kids, I would get very frustrated when my academic ambitions hit the wall of my neurological limitations. So I was the kid who cried in class. And it sure seemed to multiply my stressors. However, not crying made it even worse. Our ability to process the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune is directly proportional to our ability to be raw and vulnerable. We might not have the perfect label to adhere to the emotion we're experiencing. But the more intestinal fortitude we exercise during each inhalation to fully inhabit that emotion, those sensation, that circumstance, the more apt we are during our exhalation to release. For during each exhalation, whether we know it or not, whether we feel it or not, we are wired to access our parasympathetic nervous system, which is wired for both physical relaxation as well as mental release. You might say that mental release surfs the carrier wave of physical relaxation. That's just me being a geek. The more we physically relax during our exhalation, the more we can release. The more vulnerable we are during our inhalation, the more we can release during our exhalation. The two are reciprocal. Does that mean that no matter what befalls you, 3 short breaths later, you'll be as right as rain? No, not at all. But what it does mean is that if we take these teachings to heart, if we take these techniques to heart, we can process our pain and we can transcend our resistance to the circumstances we are subject to, as well as our internal emotional reaction to those circumstances. We cannot transcend them if we don't first inhabit them. Fortunately, inhabiting and transcending are just a breath away. And now I've got that song by the Rolling Stones in my head. If you know which song I'm referring to, type it in the chat window, if you please. I look forward to chanting and meditating with you in about 90 seconds. But first, I'd like to answer the musical question, who's Lama Jigme? This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is brought to you, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you through Patreon. If you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as transformatively as young Luke Skywalker on Dagobah under the guidance of Yoda, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. One more thing. If at any point during this evening's live stream you have a specific question about Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, and how to apply them to your life, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window. If you're using a laptop to watch this, the window will be on the right-hand side of the screen. If you're watching a smartphone, it should be just below. How was that for meta? Together as a team, let's chant the Friday night excerpt of the Spaciousness of Vajrasattva composed by Prahe Vajra. And yes, during this, if any of this feels like it's going over your head, just type your question in the chat window. But make it a specific question. One may even identify fully with a wrathful deity in the mandala of wrathful attributes, and unmistakably manifest the seed suitable and yet not experience the suchness in which concepts disappear. One may crop a palm tree or burn a seed to prevent them from proliferating, and some teachers even advocate such a destructive approach for students who wish to overcome their emotional problems. Moreover, there are hundreds and even thousands of methods of practice, and they all blossom in their own way. But since pristine awareness is beyond characteristics, it is not revealed by practices such as these. Blessed are the yogis who abide continuously in the true condition, not discriminating between self and other. They enjoy the magical illusion while abiding in the great perfection. So this is a wonderful line. They enjoy the magical illusion while abiding in the great perfection. Some people think you can't be joyful. If you're spiritual, you got to be sour-faced and cranky and grumpy and dour. No. Even though things are not as permanent as they seem, even though things are not as independent as they seem, even though things are fleeting, even though things are interdependent, we can enjoy them. No job lasts forever. No relationship lasts forever. No friendship lasts forever. Even if you are on great terms with someone, one of you is going to die before the other, most likely. If we're not separated by estrangement, we are separated by death. That doesn't mean we can't enjoy our temporary, tumultuous, ever-changing relationships. For that is what we are wired to do by evolution. We might experience pleasure from our dopamine-oriented reward cycle, but we experience fulfillment from our oxytocin-oriented reward cycle. Meaningless sex might feel good in the short term, but we are wired for relationships, sexual or platonic. We're wired for relationships. Though treacherous they may be. Join me now for this evening's practice of easy Dzogchen. Let's begin with a remarkably short recitation that does not invoke real or imagined entities. It's simply a way of exercising our empathy and our enthusiasm. The three jewels are not gods that we supplicate, but just techniques that really benefit us. Relying upon the Buddha's example, instructions, and students is so efficacious, so effective, that it earned the nickname, the metaphoric nickname, the three wish-fulfilling jewels. Together. May I liberate all beings by relying on the three jewels. May I liberate all beings by relying on the three jewels. May I liberate all beings by let's try this again. May I liberate all beings by relying on the three jewels. So now we come to meditation, and it's very much like we described during the lesson. The key to mindfulness is to perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly during each exhalation. And as such, during each inhalation, we can notice sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, including emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. Therefore, as we breathe in, we could silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. So what are we to do with all these things that we notice? Well, we're to meditate upon them simply by physically relaxing as best we can into each exhalation. And as such, what could happen is that all that we perceived during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast, empty void. Therefore, as we breathe in, we could silently and mentally recite this. And as we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite not the verb, but the metaphor, void. We are wired to be distracted. It's a survival mechanism, and it does not serve us to repress that tendency. One of the many things that could breach the surface of our awareness is emotion. And we don't have to slip into the duality of naming our emotions, putting them in the category of pleasurable or painful, or hemming and hawing between annoyance and anger, or the blues or sorrow. That's a fool's errand. By shedding duality and just calling whatever we feel an emotion, we're being honest that we're feeling something, but we're freeing ourselves from the tyranny of labels. So as we breathe in, we could silently and mentally recite emotion. As we breathe out, we could silently and mentally recite emptiness. And after 3 or 4 breaths, we could return to our old standby. Remember when we were kids, you had cereal, you added milk, bada bing, bada boom, you had breakfast. Similarly, whatever emotion we're feeling as we breathe in, when we blend that with physical relaxation and mental release as we breathe out, the product is always wisdom. It's always insight. It might not be eloquent, it might not be analytical, but it is the wisdom of letting go. It is the wisdom of non-resistance. And yes, as a geek, I have to say, resistance is futile. As we sit here in meditation, we may remember music that we listened to in junior high. There's no need to repress it. If that's the case, or something similar to it, as you breathe in, you can silently and mentally recite the 3-syllable verb remember. And then as you exhale, you can silently and mentally recite the 3-syllable adjective emptiness. And after 3 or 4 repetitions, you could return to the old standby, the old standard. If you catch yourself planning, as you will from time to time, you can silently and mentally recite cognition as you breathe in, and then emptiness as you breathe out. This is not punitive, this is not remedial, this is just a way of blending mindfulness with the present moment. There are those who would tell you that every second between daydreaming and recognizing that you're daydreaming is an indictment. Malarkey. That's just how the brain works. It's not our job to control how the brain works. When we notice something, we work with it or play with it in a therapeutic way. The more we do it, the better we get at it. And that goes with everything in our life, whether tying a shoe or making a batch of lentils or making sweet, sweet love. The first time we do it, we're probably not impressing anybody. But with with any luck, the more we do it, the better we get. We, as humans, we evolve to have a learning curve. So there is no need to beat yourself up. You may notice that 3 of these categories employ 5 colors. That's been used in Buddhism ever since the advent of the Mahayana sect. White refers to the crown, red to the throat, blue to the heart, emerald to the womb or the womb region, and gold to the navel region. But don't get too hung up with it. When we feel, whether we feel pleasure or whether we feel pain, we can refer to it as feel. And whether we are greedy for more of it or hate every second of it, we can just call that emotion. There's no need to put a fine point on it. it may have been a long day for you, and if that's the case, and if you're feeling a little drowsy, you might find it's a pick-me-up to replace the word this with a verb watch. When you feel comfortable with the strength of your vitality, you can you can replace the verb watch with the demonstrative pronoun this. I'm so glad you were able to participate, Lady Blurred. Let's seal or practice with a bit of chanting. May all beings practice of kind communication, conduct, and calmness flow spontaneous and uncontrived. May everyone be free from misery, may everyone be happy. May no one be separated from the happiness. May everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging freed. If you feel that I have earned it, you could type something in the chat window. You could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could share it with a friend. You could even help support this channel on Patreon. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's early morning lesson and meditation. Until then, may you and yours be happy and healthy. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.